and welcome to another booktube video from me, Lauren, from Lauren and the Books. I hope you're all having a lovely weekend. I imagine I am. I've got my friend down from university and her baby and her husband, which is just lovely stuff, isn't it? Oh God, look at that t-shirt tan. Don't often wear tops like this, so now you can see fully exposed how brown my arms are compared to how white the top bits of my arms are. Anyway, video is not brown arms, white shoulders with Lauren today. It is book haul time. So I've got a selection of books here. I don't know why I always count them, but I always do, and I'm not going to stop now. 2, 4, 6, 7, 9, 11, 13, 14 books here. A selection of books that I have bought myself, books that Simon's given me, books that I've got from publishers, and just a whole host of very exciting books. So I'll start with the books that Simon have got me, purely because they're the closest ones to me. So the first one I have here is a non-fiction book by Deborah Levy. This is called Things I Don't Want to Know, and this is a response to George Orwell's 1946 essay, Why I Write. So went to visit Simon on the way up to my holiday to the Lake District. Always take my car when I go to visit Simon because get to take books away, don't I? And I think we were talking about it in the video. I will link the video that we did on his channel down below. It was a Reading Horizons video. But I was saying about how the first time I went round to see him, I think I left his house with 36 books. This time I've left with 7, which is fantastic. But anyway, I was talking about how I'd read Swimming Home by Deborah Levy. It was a book that he had recommended on his Summer Reads video. Really loved it, and he said that he had this non-fiction book by her, a little penguin non-fiction book, and did I want a copy, as he had 2 copies, and I said yes please. So looking forward to reading that. Really enjoyed Deborah Levy's writing in Swimming Home. Probably one of my favourite books of the year. Gave it 5 stars. Spoiler, we haven't even had the wrap up yet. The next one is a translated book, and that is Spring Garden by Tomoka Shibasaka. This is published by Pushkin Press. As you know, I'm trying to read a bit more translated fiction this year. This is about Taro, who is divorced and cut off from his family. He is living in one of the few occupied apartments in his block, and is going to be turned down. It's going to be torn down as soon as the people that live in there leave. And he's sort of like recovering from the death of his father and how he doesn't really talk to anybody else. And yeah, it just sounds like it's going to be interesting. I like seasonal reading, so this, along with this next book that I'm going to mention, I think I might be waiting till spring. So these next 2 Simon had bought for me and said he was supposed to give them to me before Christmas, and he forgot, but exciting nevertheless. This is Spring, and this is an anthology for changing seasons. These I've seen, they've got one of these for each season. This is edited by Melissa Harrison, who wrote one of the books I read last year that I really loved, called All Among the Barley, and I actually went to see her do a talk at Cambridge Literary Festival, and really enjoyed it. And she has edited this and pulled together some poems and excerpts and things like that all about spring, which I thought would be a lovely thing to read during spring. So I will definitely be doing that. This I'm very excited about. This I bought for my sister for Christmas, and Simon got me a copy, so I'm very excited. Look at those end papers, a zig a zig are. This is What Would the Spice Girls Do? How the Girl Power Generation Grew Up. And I actually read the first few pages of this just to get a feel of what it was like. And it's talking about coming of age during the time of the Spice Girls. It sounds as though the girl, whose name is also Lauren, wrote this. She is the same age as I am. I think she said, oh no, she's not. Oh no, she is. I think she's a year younger than me, because she said she was 10 in 97 and I would have been 10 in 96. So yeah, it sounds like it's going to be really good fun and very sort of like, I like reads that are sort of like cultural, particularly like about pop culture that I know a lot about, or I know about, so I'm very excited to read this, particularly having enjoyed the Spice Girls so much last month. Reduced me to tears, they did. The next one is Children of Blood and Bone by Tommy Adeyemi, and I've been wanting to get my hands on this for such a long time. I think it's one of those books that when I see a cover of it, I'm like, oh yeah, I must read that, and think about getting it or getting it from the library, and then always forget. And Simon had a spare copy. This is Waterstone's, oh, scone, I would love a cheese scone. Waterstone's exclusive edition with red pages, and this is about a sort of tribe of people, and they are the people within that tribe that do magic are killed. So Zelly, who we're following the perspective of, her mother has been killed, and then those that can still do magic are being kept in secret. So yeah, it says that it says here, danger lurks in Orisha, where strange creatures power and vengeful spirits wait in the waters. Yet the greatest danger may be Zelly herself, as she struggles to come to terms with the strength of her magic and the growing feelings for an enemy. Sorry, my camera ran out of space then, so I've had to go. But yes, very much looking forward to reading Children of Blood and Bone. The next one I've got is another translated. Quite a few little translated guys in here, so excited about that. This is Adele by Layla Slimani. Layla Slimani is the author of Lullaby, which was a very similar cover to this actually. Big booktube news last year about a nanny who killed a baby in her care. This is similarly sort of captivating and intriguing, in that you are following Adele, who appears to have the perfect life. She's a respected journalist. She lives in a flawless Parisian apartment with her surgeon husband and their young son. But beneath the veneer of having it all, Adele is bored and consumed by an insatiable need for sex, whatever the cost. Struggling to contain the twin forces of compulsion and desire, she begins to orchestrate her life around one-night stands and extramarital affairs, arriving late to work and lying to her husband about where she's been, until she becomes ensnared in a trap of her own making. So I've been through and read like the first few pages or the back or press releases of these books that are coming out, and this sounds like she sort of doesn't really mind putting herself in situations where are quite dangerous. She sort of gets up in the middle of the night, decides she wants to shag, and just goes onto the subway. Is it called the subway in New York? Might be called the Metro, looking for someone to have it off with. So yeah, looking forward to reading that, having seen how much Lullaby was enjoyed by people. And then the last one I got from Simon is a book called She Who Dares, 10 Trailblazing Society Women by Lindsay Spence. This I see was sent to him by History Press. I think he had 2 copies of it. History Press wrote a book, I can't get it out because it's got lots of things on top of it, but it's called A History of Women in 100 Objects, which I really enjoyed. It was a very sort of educational book that I read maybe last year, and really enjoyed it. It was the sort of book that when you're reading it, you come out with really things like, by the way, did you know in Iceland there's this, and it's just got, so it would be like the object that related to women. I don't know why I'm telling you about that book when this book's not even there, but the object that was related to women would be like the pill, and then it would go into the history of the pill and what the situation with the pill is nowadays and things like that. Very interesting. That press has also published this, which is called She Who Dares, 10 Trailblazing Society Women by Lindsay Spence. And this is about 10 women who were society women and how they made a change. So I didn't really recognise any of the names. The only name I thought, it sounded as though one of them was, who was the woman that the king abdicated the throne because he wanted to marry her? It sounds as though maybe she was one talked about. It doesn't look like she is. No, she wasn't. Oh, interesting. So yeah, names that I've not heard of: Sylvia Ashley, Sylvia Brooke, lots of Sylvia, Sydney Redesdale, Jean Masserine. So I thought, interesting, always interested in hearing more about women. This does look as though it's quite sort of academic. It's pretty full pages there. So those are the books that Simon gave me. Thanks, Simon. The next ones are books that I got from the publisher. This one is so cute. Speaking about royalty, this is Our Rainbow Queen by Sally Hughes. This is published by Square Peg. Look at the end papers on that. There's the Queen in all different rainbow colours, and it is basically a book about the Queen when she wore different colours, and there's even a section on like print and stuff. So it works all the way through the rainbow, and then at the back there's a section on print. There she is in a bit of old houndstooth. But yeah, I just thought it was really nice, and I contacted, oh my god, I love that dress. Like, for me, the Queen, like, because she's always been around, she doesn't look like she's aged at all. Like, I remember her like this, and that was in 1976. That was 10 years before I was even born. So I'm looking forward to having a good flick through this and looking at some of her style. Love a bit of colour blocking. I should wear more all of one colour. I like that very much. So yes, I love that little book. I think it's really cute. The next one I've got is a book called The Art of Dying by Ambrose Parry. This is, I'm concerned that this is the second in a series, but it sounds as though you can just pick it up. So it says here, it's set in Edinburgh in 1850, and it says, despite being at the forefront of modern medicine, hordes of patients are dying all across the city, with doctors finding their remedies powerless. But it is not just the deaths that dismay the esteemed Dr. James Stimpson. A whispering campaign seeks to blame him for the death of a patient in suspicious circumstances. And then you find out about his protege and the former housemaid, and they're determined to clear his name. So yeah, sounds interesting. I don't know when that's out actually. I do now, 29th of August 2019. I've got my first book, next book, is the first book that is that I've got that isn't out until 2020. 2020 is so futuristic. Do you remember the millennium? And everyone, I used to wear Millennium Babe tops and things like that, and Y2K all written all over clothes, lots of silver. But anyway, now it's 2020, and this book is out at the beginning of 2020, January 2020. This is American Dirt by Janine Cummings. Janine Cummings. This is about immigrants going over the United States Mexico border. I've read the press release for this, and I've read the sort of the letter that she writes here, and she is so keen to sort of reiterate here that, here we go, it says here, migrants are people, they are people, they are people, they are people. And yeah, it's a story of a woman and her son journeying across the border, and it sounds like it's going to be amazing and important. And yeah, it sort of like goes from a woman who has everything. She owns a bookshop, and she was married to a journalist, and she was with everyone she loved most in the world, and then today she's just got nothing apart from her son, and they're trying to work their way across the border. So looking forward to reading that. Sounds like it's going to be tough. I've already read the first few pages, and it was already pretty tough. And yeah, not out until 2020, so that's as exciting that I've got that now. The next one I've got is a translated one called Marilyn and Me by Ji-Min Lee. This is translated from Korean, and this is about Marilyn Monroe's visit to Korea to entertain the Korean and American troops in 1954. And you're following Marilyn, and I believe you're also following her translator at the time, who was a woman called Alice. Now, her name actually wasn't Alice. They sort of gave her an Americanized name because people think they can do that sort of thing. And yeah, she was called J. Kim, I think it says. Can't find it now. But yeah, it sounds like it's going to be interesting. I don't really know much about Marilyn Monroe at all. Like, she's just sort of slipped out of my brain. I don't really know much about her, so interested to read this. And then the next ones are, oh actually, I say the ones that I've bought. The first one, a nurse that I work with, her daughters moved back home and got rid of a lot of books that she had, and she hasn't got space to keep them, and she brought in a big bag of books, which I'm always excited, because I'm always the person taking a big bag of books into work, so it's nice to be on the receiving end of a big bag of books. And the one that I picked up was The Bone Clocks by David Mitchell. Now, I've never read any David Mitchell in my life, which is almost unbelievable because I know how renowned he is, and this was on my radar because my friend Alex read this, and it's sort of set near where I work and live, so he said that it was, it is called, yeah, so, and he said that it was interesting but quite hard to follow, so I'd always sort of had it in the back of my mind that I like to read books, because there's not really many books set in like southeast Kent, and sorry, the southeast, I live in Kent, I thought, oh right, well I'll keep an eye out for that. And then when I saw that she was giving away a copy, I thought, oh yeah, interesting. And then I've just sat and read the first sort of couple of double pages, and it really sounds like I'm going to like it. David's going to pick my TBR for next month, August. I let him do it last month, and I really enjoyed like sort of reading some different books. But one book I'm going to sort of insist upon him picking, or just say that I'm going to read it, is this. Now, this is a big old guy. This is almost 600 pages long. But yeah, I really like the first few pages. And when I think I put this on my Instagram stories and said, this is up for grabs at work, has anybody read it? And so many people said it's one of their favourite books. So exciting and intriguing. And yeah, hopefully we'll read this pretty soon. So very excited about that. Heavy though. I'll have to read it when I'm sitting down somewhere. And then Tuesday, I'm filming this on Thursday, I went to a couple of seaside towns in Kent, keep talking about Kent, with Emma from Book Break, the channel Book Break. I am going to be in a video of theirs next Thursday. I will link Book Break down below, and yeah, I'm very excited to be in that video. And we went to some seaside towns and sort of found some literary connections and exciting things like that, a bit of Charles Dickens, Wilkie Collins, etc. And we went to Margate, and there's a new independent bookshop in Margate which I've been meaning to go to for ever since it opened. It's been open about 3 months now, and got the chance to go there, and it's really lovely. It's like a beautiful mint green shop frontage, looks gorgeous. The girl who was working in there was just so helpful and so lovely, and we were filming a little bit in there. And they've also, another good thing is that they've got new books and second-hand books. Just followed a bit of fluff. They've got new books and second-hand books, and I bought a couple of second-hand books. So the first one I bought is another translated one, because I'm such a good girl. This is Hotel Silence by Orda Ava Olafsdottir. I hadn't heard of this one, but I have heard of Butterflies in November, which is another one that's been written by this author, who is female. And yeah, this is about, this is following Jonas, who is, his wife's left and his mother is slipping in deeper into dementia, and his daughter is no longer who he thought. So he comes up with a foolproof plan to buy a one-way ticket to a chaotic, war-ravaged country and put an end to it all. So yeah, I'm looking forward. I don't think I've ever read anything translated from Icelandic before, so I feel very, very excited to do that. And then the last book and the other second-hand book I got from the Margate bookshop was The 13th Tale by Diane Setterfield. I did not know it had been adapted. This must be the BBC front cover then. But I've been meaning to get a hold on this for such a long time. I think Katie from Books and Things mentioned it and said how much she enjoyed it. Jean has recently included it in her favourite. Minnie, stop scratching my chair. Sorry, I don't even mean to shout. Minnie! No! She's scratching my yellow chair. That's why she's not allowed in here on her own. And Jean had mentioned it in her favourite books of the year so far. And yeah, just sounds excited. It's about a house called Angelfield House. It stands abandoned and forgotten. It was once the imposing home of the March family, fascinating, manipulative Isabel, Charlie, her brutal and dangerous brother, and the wild, untamed twins, Emmeline and Adeline. But Angelfield House conceals a chilling secret whose impact still resonates. So yeah, it sounds like it's going to be some exciting historical fiction for me. So yeah, so those are the books that I've got my hands on in the month of July. Let me know if you have read any of these books. Let me know what books you've got your hands on in the month of July. I'm very excited about these. I bet I'm going to read the Bowclocks next month. I must let David pick my TBR because I really enjoyed it last month and last year, and I will let him do it again. Anyway, that's it from me. I hope you're all having a lovely weekend, and I will see you all again soon for another BookTube video. Goodbye!